Alright guys, welcome back. Mystery Lane here. We're gonna go to space today. We're gonna get into orbit this time. Last time we went and escaped the atmosphere, we unlocked that contract, we took care of all that business. Today we're gonna get into space and we're gonna stay there for a short time. Of course we want to come back, you know, we don't want to stay there forever. But yeah, so we're gonna build us a little rocket that's going to get into orbit. So here we go. Let's start with our command pod. Of course we want a parachute on there, and I'm just gonna go with the basic one this time. I'm not gonna bother. Should I put on a science junior or not? Decisions. Because if I don't splash down, if I land over the ground, I'm gonna lose it. You know what? Let's go for it. We'll try to plan it so that we land in the water. Okay, and we'll put a little heat shield on the bottom of that. So we'll go over here to the aerodynamics, put a little heat shield underneath the Science Junior, and now we'll add the stack decoupler so that we can separate on our final descent. And now let's build us a rocket that can go to space. So we're gonna need lots of fuel for this. This is gonna be kind of a complicated rocket here. Actually, I'm gonna go with, so right there at this stage, I'm gonna go with this LV909 engine. So this is a much smaller engine. This engine is pretty useless on the ground, or in the atmosphere, I should say. So this engine is really only useful for being out in space. So all engines have something called an ISP rating. That's basically a measurement of their efficiency. And while this one doesn't have a lot of thrust, the LV909, it does have a lot of efficiency, so it doesn't take as much fuel to change our speed. It just takes a longer amount of time to change our speed. And what I mean by that is, so we want to change the speed of our rocket by 100 meters per second. If I used a LV or a LVT30 engine or an LVT45 engine, I would use a lot more fuel to change my speed than I would this LV909. So that's going to be my outer space stage. This is the engine that I'm going to use once I'm out of the atmosphere. Below that, I'll need the stages that are just going to get me off the ground and help me get out of Kerbin's gravity. So I'm going to put on another fuel tank here. It's going to be quite a big rocket. And then we'll go ahead and put some side decouplers, these radial decouplers. So I'm going to turn on radial symmetry, turn on angle snaps, and we'll place them right about here because we're going to do 2 more liquid engines on the side. So let's go ahead and pick those guys out and get those on there. Still got the radial symmetry going, although that's not really lined up right. Let's see. See if I can get that a little better. All right. Nope. Come on, guys. There we go. All right. Got those lined up. Got a couple more on there. And then we put the engines. Notice I have put the engines, I'm going to go with the 45 because those can swivel, those can help me steer. But notice that I have put the decouplers for the engines at the very top. That way when I separate these engines, kind of a flower opening kind of thing going away from the ship, and they don't crash back into the ship once they separate. So always good to keep in mind when you're decoupling radially. You don't want your stuff falling back into you. And I need some fins on here. I'm going to go with these deluxe winglets, and I want 4 of them. And I'm going to go ahead and put those on the center of my rocket. And let's see how many parts am I up to here. 23 out of 30. I could put a few more parts on here. I'm going to go ahead and add a aerodynamic nose cone on there because I think, I'm not sure, in the last versions of Kerbal, the nose cones didn't really do you much good. They actually just added mass to your rocket and they just sort of slowed it down. But now with the new aerodynamics, the new aerodynamic model in the latest release, I think they might actually be of benefit. I'll have to confirm that with some experiments later. But there we go. This rocket should get us out into space. We'll call this the, what are we going to call this? Call it the Mk1. The Mk1 rocket, yes. That's a good name. Okay, here we go. So let's pick out our pilot. Let's see, Jebediah. Yeah, we'll have Jebediah be the first pilot to go into orbit. Seems only fitting. He is, after all, the fearless Jeb Kerbin. Alright, let's go launch this baby. Now, as I said before in the last video, that some people mistakenly try to get into orbit by just flying straight up. And that's no good, because if you fly straight up, gravity is just going to pull you back down. You have to fly horizontally in order to get into orbit, because when gravity pulls you back down, you need to be moving so fast that the planet is no longer below you by the time you fall. And that's basically what orbiting is. You're in constant free fall, and because you're moving so fast to the side, you sort of miss the planet when you fall. So let's double check our staging here. I got no, I don't like that. I'm gonna save that middle stage. I'm actually gonna fire all three at the same time. I'm gonna wait till those first two burn out. Then I'm gonna burn that one. Then I'm gonna separate there. That one will come on. I want this one to come on as soon as I separate. And we got the last Separatron there for our re-entry, and then the parachute. Okay, that should be good. All right, so I'm gonna turn on SAS. And remember what I said about speed before. You don't want to go too fast, so you have to really control the throttle. So be familiar with all your controls. We've got shift to throttle up, control to throttle down, or if you want to make big jumps, you can do Z to go full throttle, the Z key, and X to cut the throttle all the way down to 0. So those will come in handy. I'm going to go near full throttle at first. I'm going to go all the way up to 100%. I'm going to hit the control button twice, just kind of tap it. And as soon as I launch, right off of the launch, I'm going to tilt the rocket just ever so slightly off to the east, the direction the rocket's shadow is pointing there. And we want to go to the east because that's the easiest way to get into orbit. Because the planet is spinning, we've already got a little bit of momentum going in that direction, and to try to get into orbit in any other direction requires a lot more fuel. So the most efficient way to get out into orbit is to fly to the east. All right, pre-flight checks are all go. Got all my parts here. Let's go to space. And I'm stuck. And this is the glitch that I was talking about in another video. You can see down here at the very bottom, there's some kind of glitch when it loads the rocket on the launch pad out here, that the engines are stuck inside the launch pad, which is no bueno, because I'm not going anywhere now. I'm just sort of burning fuel. So we're going to fix that by reverting our flight. We're going to go back to the vehicle assembly, and we're going to add some stability enhancers here. These TT18A launch stability enhancers. And hopefully we have enough parts left. We can add 2. Let's see. Yes, we are still under our parts limit. We still have 3 more parts we could put on here if we really wanted to. Not going to bother with the mystery goo though. We'll get that in later missions. Alright, so now when I load my rocket ship out onto the launch pad, I won't be glitched. I do have to fix my staging again though. Reverting back, went back to the old staging. Oh boy, okay, here we go. So I want these 2 rockets to go off first, right when the stability enhancers fire off. Then I want the side boosters to separate and the middle engine to go off. Then I want the Terrier engine to go off after this stage separates. Now I'm good. All right, here we go. So like I said, we're gonna tilt a little bit to the east, and let's try it again. Here we go. Yeah, look at that, we're flying now. All right, give it a little bit of a tilt to the east. And we do this little bit of a tilt right away because this is gonna help us get going with what we call a gravity turn. So it's basically just using gravity to tilt the rocket over onto its own naturally. I'm going to turn off SAS there to get us kind of going on prograde. And now I'm going to start slowing down a little bit. Not too much though, because if I slow down too much, this rocket's going to start tumbling out of control because of the aerodynamic forces, especially if I get too far out of prograde. You see the little green marker there that's on the nav ball? That's the direction my rocket's actually going. And then that yellow pointer is the direction that my ship is trying to point in. So you can see I'm already trying to point in a slightly different direction from where I'm actually going, which can cause some problems if you're not too careful, if you try to veer too far off of prograde. But And we're going to just kind of gradually tilt over. Now that we're at 10,000 feet, I'm going to tilt over some more. We will run out of fuel here any second. Separate, get the next stage going, and let's go ahead and go over to 45 degrees. I'm going to hit the M key to bring up the map and watch my apoapsis, bring up my nav ball. Keep going there. We want that to get up to about 80,000 meters before we cut the engines. So now I'm tilting over even more. And I really didn't do a good job of tilting on this one. I should have been over at 45 degrees here much sooner. This mark that I'm lined up with right now, that's the 45 degree mark. If I were going to watch the ship in the other view, you would see that the rocket is at about a 45 degree angle with the ground. There, see our angle there. I've got about half my fuel left in this stage. I should be pretty good. I'm going to get up there. We'll go ahead and keep on tilting over a little bit more. Extend this over, getting that horizontal velocity going. And we're up to 70,000 now. How are we doing on fuel? Yeah, we're doing pretty good on fuel there. And 80,000. We'll go ahead and cut the engines now. All right, so I have now cut off my engines, and I can't plan a maneuver just yet because I haven't upgraded my tracking center. So that's probably going to be the next upgrade that I do. But basically, what we want to have happen is before we get to this apoapsis, this highest point in our flight, we want to turn the rocket over completely horizontal, so that we are totally horizontal with the ground, right there in that division between the blue and the brown. Okay. And there we go. And once we get a little bit closer here, we're going to go ahead and burn our engine full throttle. And what we'll see is this arc that is showing us our flight around the planet is going to start getting wider and wider and wider until it completely encircles the planet. So as long as we have enough fuel, we'll be able to get into orbit. So because that little engine, I'm almost out of fuel now for this stage. And because that little engine burns so much slower, it takes a lot longer to accelerate with the smaller engine. I need to start my burn right about now, probably. So I'll go ahead, turn on my engine. There's my engine going. I'm gonna run out of fuel here any second now. I'm gonna keep it horizontal. Might need some fine adjustments here. Separate, got that stage going now. And here we go. Let's see us get into orbit here. I'll monitor how much fuel I have left up here in the top right. We started with 180, I'm guessing that's liters of fuel. It might be kilograms. I'm not really sure what they measure in. But this arc is going to slowly get wider and wider and wider. And what we're waiting for is that apoapsis to start moving. It's going to start sliding along this arc. And then we're going to have a second little dot that pops up called the periapsis. And once those 2 points start to switch places, we've got a pretty circular orbit and we can cut off our engines. So here we go. Yeah. Space. Kind of boring waiting on the rockets to burn, but here we go. Okay, we're getting close. Getting close. That apoapsis is moving. It's getting higher and higher. There's the periapsis, and they're going to switch right about there. 72,000. That's still in space. We got 106,000 there. So, kind of an elliptical orbit. Ideally, we want these two numbers to be pretty close to each other. We want to be in a circular orbit. But there's nothing saying we have to. We can get in whatever kind of orbit we want. So there we are. Now we're in space. And we can collect all kinds of science points now, because we're going to observe our material bay while in orbit. And look at that. 25 science points. Nice. And we'll do a crew report. Oh, wait. I've already done this one. I've already done a crew report in space, so I guess you can't really get any bonus points once you're in orbit for that one. Let's try EVAing. Let's try this. Now be very careful when you EVA. I would recommend not letting go unless you really know what you're doing. Okay, so here we go. EVA. Notice he is still grabbing onto that ladder. I am not letting go of that, and I'm going to go ahead. Oh, wait, no, he's not a scientist. I can't do that. But let's do an EVA report. Just above Kerbin's water. You recorded your observations, but I've already done an EVA at this point on our last mission. But what's cool about the EVA reports is that you can wait till you're flying over a different location, and you can do the EVA again, and you get the new points for it. So once we're over land here, I'll kind of fast forward a little bit. Oh, can't while he's on the ladder. Okay. Well, once he's on the over the land, we can try it again. We'll overwrite the report. There we go. Just above Kerbin's grasslands. 8 science points. We'll keep that data, and we will take the data and we'll store the experiments so that we can do it again. If we can get over a desert or a highlands or any other kind of biome, you can kind of keep doing that and getting more science points. All right, so that's this episode. We're in orbit. Come back next time and we'll tell you how to bring Jeb home.